Did you miss any of the Overwatch League matches for Stage 1 Week 2? Don't worry, we've got you covered. The Game Haus Overwatch League recap is coming your way every day after all the matches are over to catch you up. Thursday saw the struggling Dallas Fuel looking to get their first win against the Houston Outlaws. While Junkertown looked close, the team fights and the kills tell a different story. Dallas was unable to get to the first point with the payload as the Outlaws' defense was staunch. Then, Houston rolled over the Fuel, winning the team fight battle 5-1 and the kills battle 30-19 in order to win Map 1. Horizon Lunar Colony seemed to be more of the same. The Fuel were barely able to capture point 1 and were unable to get even one tick on point 2. Houston, on the other hand, had Cool Matt leading the charge as he continued to make huge plays on D.Va. Houston won, going up 2 maps to none. On Oasis, Muma was all over the place with Winston. The Fuel were constantly trying to get on the point as nothing they tried seemed to work. The Outlaws took this map in a convincing fashion, going up 3-0. Eichenwald would prove to be the closest map of the match. Dallas attacked first and were able to take point 1 with 45 seconds remaining. Even though he had been their best player for most of their matches, Taimu didn't see any play during the match until this map and did his job yet again. It did not matter though, as Houston held and then made their push with Jake and Linkser going off for the sweep. All credit goes to Houston for having a very strong week 2, but the Fuel have major problems. Are they overhyped or in their own heads? Also, why did they refuse to play Taimu until the last map? Dallas needs to figure it out as their Friday matchup doesn't get any easier against the Spitfire. In the second match, we had the battle of the undefeateds, the LA Valiant and the New York Excelsior. We saw flex players and tanks doing most of the work on Junkertown. Jonak and Meko absolutely killed it and helped the Excelsior easily get 3 points on their attack. Agilities played well, but soon was nowhere to be found as the Valiant couldn't hold and could only get to the first point themselves. Excelsior went up 1-0. The Valiant tried to make an adjustment, having their young DPS Silk Thread come onto Horizon Lunar Colony. New York were barely able to take point 1 and were unable to take point 2 as Unco did work. Unfortunately, the Valiant were unsuccessful on taking their first point due to Meko continuing to play well and help his team go up 2-0. Then came the Pine game. The man plays control point extraordinarily well. He might actually be a cheat code. This time, the Valiant were able to force a map 3, but in the end, it didn't matter, as Pine went off for 21 kills, and Jonak and Meko kept doing their thing, leading the Excelsior to a 3-0 series win. Unlike last week, Numbani has shown to be an even map. The Valiant and Excelsior were both able to get to point 3, but neither could get the upper hand in the overtime game. Envy and Fate showed up finally and helped to stall New York. This led to a tie, finishing the series 3-0 in favor of the Excelsior. Soon was nearly non-existent for the Valiant in this matchup. Their next opponent, London, will not take prisoners, so the Valiant will have to step up. As for the Excelsior, we want more Pine! Please, let's see him on another map and see what he can do. If you didn't get a chance to watch any other match this week, this should be the one you go back and watch. The LA Gladiator and the Philly Fusion put on a show this week. The Fusion almost made it all the way to point 3 on Junkertown, but the Gladiators held strong. Then, the Gladiators were only able to get to point 1 as Poco, Carpe, and Shadowburn just went off, giving the Philadelphia Fusion a 1-0 lead. On Temple of Anubis, both teams were able to get both points, but it was the overtime match that would be the clincher. The Gladiators could not get one tick, whereas the Philadelphia Fusion were able to get that first one, thanks to some great play again by Poco, Carpe, and Shadowburn. Going into Ilios, the Philadelphia Fusion only needed one more map in order to win the series. They were unable to as the Gladiators were able to take it 2-1 thanks to some great plays by Asher and Shaz. Numbani showed why it had been a great map all week. The Philadelphia Fusion were able to get the first 2 points, but were stalled trying to get to point 3. The Gladiators were able to get some big plays out of Hydration and Big Goose in order to make it just past the Philadelphia Fusion and to tie it up 2-2. In our 5th map at Lijiang Tower, the Gladiators were trying to go for the first ever reverse sweep in Overwatch League history. They brought out the big dogs as Surefour, Asher, Hydration, and iRemix were all out there, Bishu being left out. This ended up making a huge difference as Scherfer was all over the place, giving the Gladiators a 3-2 win. The Philadelphia Fusion had to be shocked being reverse swept the way they were. They were probably the better team, but the Gladiators just came out to play. They're going to finish 0-2 this week, but there's some big things ahead for them. As for the Gladiators, they continue to surprise people, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do in their next match this week. Thank you for tuning in to the Gamehouse Overwatch League recap. Be sure to keep an eye out for the rest of this week's recaps right here. You can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Those links are listed below. Hit that subscribe button, and from our house to yours, keep it here at the Gamehouse for all your sports and esports needs.